Hi, friends. It's Dave from Soke Travel Adventures. So I'm sure you've heard the news, the cartel activity in Puerto Vallarta, all the travel advisories that are going on, all the deaths that are happening in Mexico, and all the violence. So I'm sure if you've had trips planned and paid for, I'm sure you're struggling with the decision when flights reopen, should you even go, and all the various things around that. And can be difficult decisions, no doubt. So it started an interesting discussion at home for us because we had kind of tentatively planned to do another trip to Cuba or Mexico this year, and Cuba's out because there's no flights going there. The interesting part was we had kind of had Mexico as the backup plan. So the discussion at home was, would we go to Mexico? And my wife flat out just wouldn't go to Mexico right now. On the other hand, I would probably go to Mexico right now and pick my spots. I might not go to Puerto Vallarta. I might go to, say, Playa del Carmen, away from the cartel activity. Is this rational? Well, I don't know. The way I see it, when you're traveling, you're always accepting risk anyway. I used to be a commercial traveler. I would get on an airplane and go every week. And I always knew that there was going to be a potential for an airline crash, an illness while I'm traveling, an accident while I'm traveling. There's no doubt about it. When you're traveling, you're putting yourself in situations that you don't control like you can when you're home. And there's more opportunity for something to happen. This is the risk you accept when you travel. It's whether you do it consciously or not, there's always a risk. In Mexico, we know that there's more cartel activity in Puerto Vallarta. I knew before we went on our last trip there was more cartel activity in Puerto Vallarta. That's why we didn't go to Puerto Vallarta. Is there a danger of cartel activity in Playa del Carmen? Well, speaking to some of my contacts recently down there, they had a couple cars that were burned out. I guess that was cartel activity. But day to day, people are walking around the streets and there's not an issue. So to me, it comes down to what the risk you're willing to absorb to travel. You're always absorbing risk. I go back to a situation if you remember the Swissair crash, that was back in, I can't remember how many years, well over a decade ago now. And I can remember flying out of Newark Airport the day following that. I was there for like a 9 a.m. flight. And the National Guard was out with Uzis, locked and loaded. The security presence was high because they thought it was a terrorism attack. They thought that the plane took off, I believe, from JFK, and they were convinced there was a rocket or something that hit that plane. It was a terrorism act. So going out to the airport, you're accepting that risk. You can say, well, I don't know what's happening. I'm going to wait 2 weeks and go home then. I was a commercial traveler. I'm like, it's Friday or Thursday. I'm going to go home. There's no question. I'm going to absorb that risk. I know that. Can I quantify the risk? Totally? No. But I accept these risks when I leave. And so I look at it as it's the same in a Mexico situation. If I can minimize the risk, and I think it's an acceptable thing to do, I think maybe the right thing to travel. I'm 67 years old. 10 years from now, I may not be able to go on these trips. So for the most part, I may personally err on the side of just going anyway. But everyone evaluates risk differently. And so that's the important part here. So in our situation, who's right? Is it my wife or is it me? We're both right. We both are evaluating the risks differently. And that's what it comes down to. Now, are we going to the trip to Mexico? I'm not willing to say at this point. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Remember to like, subscribe, and any comments, let me know. Would you go on the trip? Or will you be going on the trip to Mexico in the next month or so? Let me know in the comments. Have a great day.